Welcome to Creative Pages with Catherine. I'm Catherine, and we are going to go on a Thrift Flip Road Trip creative challenge hosted by Sammy at Unicorn Dust Designs, Kay and Trish at The Crafting Cousins, and special co-host Christine at DIY Craftaholic. I hope you all will check out the entire playlist, because if you do and you comment on each of the videos, it looks like there's a special giveaway that's going to be happening. Stay tuned to the end for more information about that. And guess what? You are visiting Washington State currently for now. We are getting ready to move again, and my next road trip is going to be, I don't know from where, but we'll see what happens. I actually did visit a thrift store this month. I'm going to show you what I found, but I'm going to be working with our Denim Revival collection, and this little embellishment is pretty much what has inspired my entire project. So we're going to have some fun. I know y'all are going to enjoy watching this project. It's a fun one, and maybe learn a new way or two to use some of our tools along the way. So let's get started. Here we go. This is what I'm going to be working on that I found at my local thrift shop. I even like the blue color because we're going to be working with that Denim Revival collection. The interior of the frame is 8 inches by 20 inches. And I picked it up for $2.75 at my local thrift store, but it was 25% off that. So $2.25-ish. Not bad for a nice size frame. The one thing about this frame is the only hanger is up here. So I had to figure out how to get my design into the space going this way vertically versus the horizontal way that I probably thought initially that I would want to do it, but I was able to work it out, and I am very excited to get this done. I will clean the glass on the frame, make sure to give it a good wipe down because, thrift stores. And I know I mentioned in my intro that this little embellishment is what inspired my whole piece here, and we're actually going to be looking at it this way, and we're essentially going to recreate this on a larger scale. And then I also found this one in the Denim Revival as well, and it says Everyday Adventures, and we are going to be putting that into our piece that we're creating as well. So inspiration here, and I do have out my 13 by 13 cutting mat because we are going to do some cutting. I have already pre-cut these 2 sheets that look like newsprint from our Denim Revival collection. This one is at 8 inches by 12 inches. And then I also pulled out, so I have 2 sheets of this one because I had to cut it at 8 inches. And then I have 1 sheet of the cork looking paper that has the really white denim wash on the back that I cut at 6 inches. So you only need 1 sheet of this one. That's going to be our layering piece. And the blue is going to be our background. And you can see with our frame where I'm going. I love that we have some distressed parts already in the frame that brings out the color here. If you've watched my channel at all, you know I am a bit fussy about color. I am a chef as well, so things that appeal to the eye are what people eat first. And I think it's also the same to some degree with scrapbooking and art. Color, you want it to flow nicely. So besides our 13 by 13 cutting mat, I also have 2 stickers from our Denim Revival collection I have my brown fine tip pen and my navy dual tip pen. And I also have something y'all have seen a lot, my zero centering ruler, because we will be using this. Let me put this on there so that way you can see it better. I have pulled out as well my back to school ABC handwriting stencil. This is how we're going to get our lettering on to our this essentially that we're making. And I've also pulled out my jumbo wavy square pattern that is currently in the last chance. So if you want to create this as well or a variation on it, grab one. This one actually, we're using it in a non-traditional way, I guess, for scrapbookers. Go figure. But I like giving you all ideas for different things you can use with what you already might have, whether it be your punches or your custom cutting system patterns. You will also need your red blade with that template and our tape runner, the original tape runner. Okay. I think that is everything we need to start putting our project together here. Grab out your two pieces that we cut at 6 inches. We are going to start by placing our initial piece. I've added a little bit of tape from our tape runner. We're going to line up between the 0 and the 6 because we have a 6-inch piece of paper. And we're lining this bottom piece up at 8 1/4. So let me make sure I've got my side edges straight here at 8 1/4, going straight down here. And then we are going to overlap this other piece at 3 3/4, coming down here. It's up to you if you want to go ahead and cut this extra piece off. I am not. I'm just layering them because my measurements are based on it being a 12-inch piece of paper. So we're going to add a little more tape runner to hold it down. I mean, either way, you're going to have a seam on your paper. This just has where the seam will hit a little bit lower. And then what you want to do is line up between your 3 and your 9. For this next part, I do recommend standing because your paper is so long, and it also helps you to get that visual reference. So you do want to line up your paper between the 3 and the 9 because you want to be centered on your mat here. And then we're going to bring in our template. We're going to go from the corner here, and you want it to be a 1/2 inch down. So we're going to bring in our 0 centering ruler because we have grid lines going across. On our 0 centering ruler, we have a 0 going through the measurements this way, as well as a 0 in the center of our ruler where we have 6 inches. So we want to get here to this 1/2 inch because here's 1 inch, and then this is a 1/4 inch, and then this is our other 1/4 inch. So that's a 1/2 inch to the 1 here. And so that's what's going to line up at the top here. So bring down my template. Let's get this lined up at the 1, going across the top. You want to be even here. Put your template up directly to your 0 centering ruler, and let's center that. Get your 0 in the center, so that way you know where to line up the middle of your point here. And look to make sure that through your 6, you're going through the same point here as well, because this is good. You want to be centered on your cutting. That looks good. They say what, measure however many times, measure as many times as you need it, because you can only cut once, right? So when you're putting in your pegs, make sure you get both pegs in on your blade. I'll pick it back up and show you in just a moment here. Let's go ahead and get this cut going around the top of our template here. Oops. There we go. Make sure I get a little bit. It's always good to make sure that your paper is completely cut before you move anything. And here's our blade. Here are the two pegs I was talking about that go into the track. Our blade does rotate, which is nice as we cut, so that way you can hold on to the edges and it makes for a smoother cut. We used to have to turn with the blade, and that was a little bit more. So now we're going to turn this over and do the same thing on the opposite end. There we go. We now have the shape of our embellishment. Let me go ahead and turn my blade in so that way I don't poke myself when I go to pick it up next time. And look at that. I'm going to turn it sideways so that way you can see our shape next to our embellishment. Not bad at all, right? Let me hold it up. There you go. I love it. How cute is that? Okay, so now for our next feat, I guess, if you will, we are going to add some pencil marks to our tag. I'm going to call it a tag, and we need to be 5 1/4 inches down from this point. This top point here that came off at the end of our when we cut with the template. So 5 1/4 inches down, because we need to create a 2.5 inch box for our letters. Each of those letters on the template are about 1 inch high, and we need space for those to fit because we're going to add a couple of photos here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1/4. So 5 1/4 here is right here. I'm just going to put a tiny little mark we can erase later. And then we need, so on our zero centering ruler, this is at the, if we line up this one at this is the top of my zero centering ruler, right, with this point here. My 0 is here, so we're 3/4 of an inch up for our first mark, and 1 3/4, 1 3/4 for my second mark will get me to that 2.5 inches that I need to create my little box. Let's get our template out so we can start our writing. When you're lining up you still want to be between that 3 and that 9 if you can. That way you know your paper is straight vertically as you're writing. Put your top mark that we just put at the 6 inch line on your zero centering mat. And you want to be 3/4 of an inch in. I need to grab out my navy pen. So I have my 0 right here. So that's 3/4 of an inch in. And my E is right here, kind of with the end of the E, sort of a little bit to the left of the 0. My black line that runs under my letters on my top row is at the 5 inch mark on my mat here. So my paper is between my 3 and my 9. This mark underneath my top row of letters is at the 5. So we're going to go ahead, and here's my E to start my everyday word. V. So we're going to bring up our V. We're going to line it up Again, this line, this black line that runs under the letters, no matter which row you're on, is going to be on our 5-inch mark of our, it's 5 on the left, 7 on the right. And you just want to space your letters so they look natural. Mine are maybe about, I'll measure it for you when I'm done. I'm just eyeballing it, but EVE RY. Okay, again, lining up my black line at the 5. And I'm just using the wider end of my pen. You can take your fine end and then go over it with the wide one, but if you're going to use the wide end anyways, you might as well just go ahead and go for it. Getting myself lined up with the 7 on the right because my R is so far left. Okay, so that is my everyday. My spacing is roughly, let's see here. Oops, I just knocked my paper in here. It's a little hard because it is off the edge of the table and I keep on scooting in so I can see what I've done here. So it's not quite 1/4 of an inch. Some of them are about 1/8 of an inch. Just like I said, what looks natural to you for your letter spacing. Like I said, you do want to start 3/4 to the left so that way, I mean, we do probably have about 1 inch on this right side because I think I put my letters a little bit closer than I did in my test piece, but that's okay. Now we are going to put adventures, and for adventures, you do need to be closer to the edge. It's only about 1/4 of an inch over. So let me scoot this up a little so I quit hitting it. All right, I'm going to be underneath the everyday at the 0. So here you can see if I put my ruler here, that's definitely under. So adventure starts with an A. I want to be lined up at the 5. It looks like we're going to have just that little bit of space. Actually, I want to be up just a little bit further. Yep. Okay. So moving my paper up just a little bit more, getting it centered again between the 3 and the 9. This gives me about, it's going to be about a 1/4 of an inch between bottom of my top letter and the top of my lower letters. And you want to be only 1/8 of an inch in when you start your A. Let me double check this and make sure where my placement is. I'm going to put my 0 centering ruler at the edge of my paper because I can see through it. And yes, that's exactly 1/8 of an inch. I have my bottom line here lined up again between the 5 on the left and the 7 on the right. That way I know all of my letters are going to be going nice and straight across my page. So let's get adventures put down. All done. Okay, we have our everyday adventures on our tag. You can see where it definitely helps to use the lines that are on the template as well as working on something that can help keep you straight with your letters. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this away and put away my 13 by 13 mat. Our next step in putting together our tag here is we're going to go ahead and add our 2 button stickers that I found in our sticker set. One is a little bit of a lighter brown and the other is a little bit of a darker, but it's the same style of button. And here we have on our inspiration piece, they have two, metal brads on theirs. But I guess if you have metal brads you want to put into your paper, that's up to you. I'm going to do this because we took so much time to get everything centered. I'm going to get the threes here. I'm going to center my sticker as well. Here, about a 1/2 inch down from the top. And the same at the bottom. Oops. All right, between the threes on my 0 centering ruler, bringing it down, grabbing my other sticker here, and about a 1/2 inch from the bottom here is where this other one is going to go. There we go. Our stickers are down, and now we're going to pull out our fine-tipped brown pen to do a little stitching. One of the other things with this inspiration embellishment is that there's stitching all the way around it, and it adds a nice detail, so we're going to add that to our piece as well. I mean, there's stitching around our everyday adventures as well. So let's go ahead and just add some stitching with our pen, following along about 1/8 of an inch in on our tag here. All done with that. And you can tell mine is hand stitched because some of my stitches are a little closer and some of my stitches are a little bit further apart. But there they are. You can see where they go around and through the entire length of the tag we made. Here's the bottom. How did I do? I picked out a couple photos from a trip we took to Arizona when we lived in New Mexico. This is me in the desert with the cactus, and this one is a 4x6 photo. I could trim down a little bit off of the top here, but I'm not going to. And let's see. And then I have another one of a flowering cactus for the bottom of my tag here as well. I'm going to get a little bit of tape on the back of my photos. I am going to use a repositionable on these just in case I do decide to change these out later. That way they're not as, it will get more sticky, but it won't be completely stuck, I guess, if you will. Grab back out my 0 centering ruler again so I can get between the threes here to make sure my photo is centered as well. It is a 4x6 photo, so I should be between the twos here. You want to be a little bit up from the bottom of your thing, and I'm about a 1/2 inch down from the bottom of my letters. And I think I'll go ahead and go a 1/2 inch up as well. Let me double check it real quick here for you all. It's a little over a 1/4 inch down. So let me go in just a little bit more on this end too. About a 1/4 inch. Okay. Let's see how this looks here. Yeah, great. About a 1/4 inch above your letters. I'm going to get this between the twos as well. That way you know you have your photo centered on your tag that you took all that time to create. There we go. And for us living in New Mexico, this kind of was an everyday adventure. We'd go out and trek through some of the state parks and the desert. It was fun. Definitely something different to explore. I've pulled out my backing from my frame, and we're going to tape down our background paper here. Let me move my inspiration pieces up there. This is going to overlap a little bit as well. From off the top over the bottom, and it looks like the cardboard for this particular frame is a little bit not as wide as what the glass is in the frame, so I am going to do my best to get it lined up. Grab your tape runner for this one, and actually I think we're going to put the tape runner on the cardboard this time. You can use your precision point adhesive as well. I'm kind of winging it here. Let's see if that's going to be tall enough. Not quite. Let me add just a little bit more up this way. I'm going to line up directly with the bottom. You know what? I'm going to flip this over. Line it up with the bottom of the page on the cardboard. And like I said, I think I've got about 1/8 inch. Nope, it's actually a little bit less than 1/8 inch. Probably about 1/16 inch is what this cardboard is shy of my 8-inch paper here. Well, I am lined up on the front of my cardboard with my paper following one of the edges. This other edge is, like I said, about 1/16 inch over, because remember we cut our paper to 8 inches and apparently the cardboard wasn't quite exact. So hopefully when we go to put our tag on, we'll be able to get that sorted out when we go to put it in the frame. Yep, I've got my not just enough of my tape on there. And we are going to come down 1, 2, 3 squares on to this other paper here. So let's get some more tape runner going here. And 3 squares. Get a little bit over the seam here. And we're going to line up with our top edge of the cardboard. And we're going to run right along the same seam at the bottom here that is towards me. There we go. That looks nice and straight. All right, so we have our background of our picture. Now let's get this centered on here, our tag. And I think that's going to look great on there. You can see I figured it was going to be about 1 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. Actually, it's going to be a little bit less than 1 inch because these boxes, these little newsprint boxes, are pretty much 1 inch square because I measured them when I started the whole project, because I wanted to make sure I knew roughly how I wanted this framed out. And it looks like we're going to be about 1/2 inch into the top, maybe about 1/4 inch into the top and the bottom. Okay, Let's add some tape runner to our tag so we can get this adhered to our background. I'll turn this, and it was a little bit harder to see on this really light paper, but I think I have enough tape runner going through. I did make sure to cover my seam with some tape runner as well. And now we're going to line this up in between. This one is a little bit less than the inch. So I want to, we had what, 8 inches? Make sure I get, this is at the 3s. So we're going an inch in on each end here. Okay, so yes, that does line up with that seam. And we're going to be just about 1/4 of an inch over on the top and on the bottom. So you can, again, get your ruler and make sure you get it right exactly. I am eyeballing it. I do that a lot with my scrapbooking pages as well, but I feel like I'm pretty much in the ballpark here. So there we go. There is my tag on my background for my frame here. I'm going to go ahead and get it into the frame, and we will show you all what it looks like in the frame. I'm going to have to do a final reveal. This is too big for my camera. Not sideways, but y'all don't want to see it sideways. You want to see it in the frame the way it's supposed to be. So I will get that done, and I am excited to show you all this one. I am a Creative Memories advisor, and I would love to be your advisor. Please hit the subscribe button if you are new to my channel. I do love each and every one of my subscribers and thank them for returning regularly to watch my content, whether I'm crafting, scrapbooking, making cards, or live streaming with you all. I do enjoy this YouTube channel. And if you love how my project turned out, please hit the thumbs up button as well. Here it is. Here is your final reveal. I have hung it on the wall next to my shelf where I keep many of my cookbooks. I think it looks pretty great. Y'all can let me know in the comments what you think. I would like to thank Kay and Trish at the Crafting Cousins and Sammy at Unicorn Dust Designs again for hosting the Thrift Flip Road Trip. And thank you for watching my entire project video. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I created this framed tag where you can put a couple of photos that can be changed out seasonally if you like. Until next time.